Sarah had always dreamed of owning a beautiful house in a peaceful neighborhood. After years of saving money and working hard, she finally found the perfect home. It was a cozy two-story house with a nice garden and big windows that let in plenty of sunlight. The street was quiet, with friendly neighbors who waved when they passed by. For Sarah, this house was more than just a place to live. It was the start of a new life filled with hope and happiness. From the day she moved in, Sarah felt happy and proud. She imagined many good times ahead, hosting dinners with friends, planting flowers in the garden, and enjoying quiet evenings reading by the fireplace. Everything seemed perfect, but soon, Sarah noticed something strange about the Homeowners Association, or HOA. The HOA was a group of people in the neighborhood who made rules about how houses should look and how neighbors should behave. Sarah had heard that HOAs were common in many places, but she never expected any problems. At first, the HOA seemed normal. They sent letters about keeping the garden neat and about parking rules. Sarah followed these rules carefully. After all, she wanted to be a good neighbor. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the HOA president, Mrs. Thompson. It said something that surprised Sarah. The HOA wanted an exact copy of the keys to her house. The letter explained that Mrs. Thompson's son might need to enter Sarah's house at any time for emergencies. The words made Sarah uneasy. She wondered, why would the HOA want a key to her private home? Didn't she have a right to keep her house safe and private? Sarah tried to ignore the letter at first. She thought maybe it was a mistake or a misunderstanding. But a few days later, Mrs. Thompson called her on the phone. Her voice was polite but firm. She repeated the request for the house keys. Sarah listened carefully, but felt even more uncomfortable. She asked why the keys were necessary and what kind of emergencies the son might face. Mrs. Thompson explained that as the HOA president, she had to make sure the neighborhood was safe. Sometimes, emergencies happen, like water leaks or fires. She said her son was trained to help in such situations and could check inside houses quickly if needed. Sarah thought this sounded unusual, but tried to stay calm, she told Mrs. Thompson. She understood the need for safety, but that giving her keys felt wrong. Sarah believed that if there was ever a real emergency, she or the police could handle it. Giving keys to someone she did not know well felt like a risk. After the call, Sarah talked to a few neighbors. She wanted to know if the HOA had asked them for their keys too. To her surprise, some neighbors said yes, while others said no. One neighbor said she had refused and felt the same worry as Sarah. Another said she gave her keys because she trusted the HOA. Sarah realized that the HOA's demands were causing confusion and fear. Sarah decided to learn more about her rights. She looked up information online about HOAs and home privacy laws. She found out that in most places, homeowners are not required to give copies of their keys to the HOA or anyone else unless there is a legal order. This made her feel stronger. She knew she was right to protect her home still. Sarah felt pressure. Mrs. Thompson kept sending letters and messages reminding her of the HOA rules. The letters mentioned fines and penalties if Sarah did not comply. Sarah's heart sank. She worried about losing money or facing other problems. But she also knew she could not give in. One afternoon, Sarah went to the HOA office to speak with Mrs. Thompson in person. She wanted to explain her feelings face to face and find a way to solve the problem. When Sarah arrived, she found Mrs. Thompson waiting with her son. Mrs. Thompson smiled but quickly repeated the demand for the house keys. Sarah stood firm and said she would not hand over her keys. She explained again that her home was private and that emergencies should be handled by the proper authorities, not by the HOA president's son. Mrs. Thompson looked upset. She warned Sarah that the HOA had rules to keep the community safe, and that refusal could bring trouble. Sarah felt nervous, but remained polite and calm. She left the office, hoping things would not get worse. Over the next few days, Sarah talked with more neighbors. Many shared stories of the HOA's strict control and how they felt their privacy was at risk. Sarah understood she was not alone. She started to think about what to do next. Sarah's story shows how important it is to protect your home and your rights. Even when others pressure you, standing firm with respect and knowledge can make a difference. Sarah was ready to face whatever came next, believing that her home was her safe place, and no one could take that away without good reason. After Sarah left the HOA office that day, she felt a mix of emotions. She was proud that she stood up for herself, but she also felt worried about what might happen next. The HOA president, Mrs. Thompson, was very determined. Sarah knew the situation could get harder before it got better. The next morning, Sarah checked her mailbox and found another letter from the HOA. This letter was stronger in tone. It said that Sarah's refusal to give the keys was breaking the rules of the community. It warned that if she did not cooperate, she might face fines or even legal action. Sarah read the letter carefully and felt her heart beat faster. She knew she needed to stay calm and think carefully. Sarah talked to her close friend Michael about the problem. Michael was a good listener and gave her helpful advice. Told her, "Sarah, you have every right to keep your house and keys safe. The HOA cannot just take your keys without a good reason. You should get legal advice if they keep pressuring you." Sarah agreed. She decided to call a local lawyer who knew about property and HOA rules. Now, the lawyer explained that homeowners have the right to protect their property, unless there was an emergency and the police or fire department asked for access. No one should have a key to her house without permission. The lawyer also said that HOAs usually do not have the power to demand keys from homeowners. This information gave Sarah hope. She felt stronger and more confident. But she also knew Mrs. Thompson would not stop trying. Sarah wanted to make sure she was ready for anything. Meanwhile, in the neighborhood, Sarah noticed that some neighbors were watching her more closely than before. A few would stop and ask questions about the HOA's behavior. Some said they were scared to speak up because they worried about problems with the HOA. Others said they wished they had been braver like Sarah. One day, while Sarah was watering her garden, a neighbor named Mr. Lopez came by. He was an older man who had lived in the neighborhood for many years. He said quietly, "Sarah, I heard about your problem with the HOA. You are brave. I want to tell you something. Many years ago, the HOA here tried to control everything, even made people repaint their houses in colors they did not like." Sarah listened carefully. Mr. Lopez continued, "But the neighborhood came together and said no. We have to keep our privacy and rights. You're doing the right thing." This talk made Sarah feel less alone. She realized she was part of a bigger story about neighbors, protecting their homes and their freedom. But not everyone in the neighborhood supported Sarah. One afternoon, Sarah heard from a neighbor that Mrs. Thompson's son had been seen walking near Sarah's house. This made Sarah feel nervous. She wondered if the HOA was watching her or trying to find ways to get inside her home without permission. Sarah decided to be careful. She checked all the locks on her doors and windows. She made sure her security system was working. She even talked to the local police station to let them know about the situation. The police officer was kind and said they would keep an eye out for anything suspicious. Days passed, and the pressure from the HOA increased. Mrs. Thompson sent more messages, sometimes late at night. Sarah kept answering politely but firmly, saying she would not give her keys. At one point, Sarah received an email from the HOA threatening to cut off her access to some community services, like the pool and clubhouse. Sarah felt frustrated and sad. She loved the neighborhood and wanted to be part of the community. But she could not accept being forced to give her keys. Sarah began to organize a small meeting with neighbors who also felt uncomfortable with the HOA's demands. They met in a nearby park on a sunny afternoon. Sarah shared her story, and others shared theirs. Together, they talked about how the HOA was acting unfairly. Some neighbors said they had quietly given their keys to the HOA because they felt scared. Others said they had hidden their keys or changed their locks to keep their homes safe. Everyone agreed that privacy was important and that no one should feel pressured or threatened. The group decided to write a letter to the HOA board. They wanted to ask for clearer rules that respected homeowners' rights. Sarah offered to help write the letter. They also talked about getting more legal advice if the HOA continued to act unfairly. After the meeting, Sarah felt hopeful. She saw that standing together gave them strength. She believed that if enough neighbors spoke up, the HOA would have to listen. But the conflict was far from over. Mrs. Thompson seemed even more determined. One evening, Sarah got a call that shocked her. The police were at her door. The HOA president had called them, saying Sarah was refusing to follow community rules and was causing trouble. Sarah's heart pounded. She opened the door to see two police officers standing there. They were polite and asked to talk. Sarah calmly explained the situation, that she was protecting her home and that she had legal advice. The officers listened carefully. They told Sarah that she had the right to keep her keys private. They said the HOA could not force her to give them. After a short talk, the officers left, but Sarah knew this event was a clear sign the HOA was trying to use pressure and fear to get what they wanted. That night, Sarah thought about what had happened. She realized how important it was to stand firm but also to stay peaceful and respectful. She wanted to protect her home and her community's spirit. Sarah's story was now known in the neighborhood. Many people admired her courage. Some neighbors came to her door to thank her for standing up for privacy and fairness. Sarah felt proud but also careful, knowing the struggle was still going on. Through this experience, Sarah learned that sometimes standing up for what is right is not easy. It takes patience, courage, and support from others. But in the end, protecting your home and your rights is worth every effort. After the police visit, Sarah felt a mix of relief and worry. She was glad the officers understood her rights and supported her decision to keep her keys private. But she also realized that the HOA president, Mrs. Thompson, was serious about pushing her demands. Sarah knew she had to stay strong and find better ways to protect herself. Sarah decided to share what happened with more neighbors. She wanted them to understand the situation and join together if needed. She made flyers that told the story simply and clearly. Sarah carefully explained how the HOA was asking for keys and how she stood up to protect her home. She handed the flyers to neighbors when she saw them and left some at community centers and local shops. Slowly, more people began to talk about the problem. Some neighbors who had stayed quiet before started to share their worries. They thanked Sarah for speaking up and said they wished someone had done this sooner. One morning, Sarah received an email from a local news reporter. The reporter had heard about Sarah's story through one of the neighbors. She wanted to interview Sarah to tell her story on the news. Sarah felt nervous but agreed. She thought this could help other people who face similar problems with HOAs. The reporter came to Sarah's house on a bright day. She asked Sarah many questions about her experience. Sarah spoke honestly and calmly. She said that, while she loved her home and neighborhood, the HOA's demand for keys felt like a serious invasion of privacy. She explained how she sought legal advice and stood firm despite pressure. The interview was recorded, and soon the story was shared on local TV and online. Many people watched it and commented. Some said they had no idea HOAs could ask for keys. Others thanked Sarah for teaching them about their rights. But not everyone was happy. Mrs. Thompson and the HOA board sent a letter to Sarah, complaining about the news coverage. They said Sarah was causing trouble and making the neighborhood look bad. Sarah read the letter, but did not respond. She decided to focus on what was right, not on arguments. Meanwhile, Sarah's friendship with neighbors grew stronger. People invited her to small gatherings and asked her advice about dealing with the HOA. Sarah listened carefully and encouraged everyone to stay calm and respectful. She reminded them that the best way to win was by working together and knowing their rights. One afternoon, Sarah and some neighbors decided to hold a meeting in the community hall. They invited a lawyer to talk about homeowner rights and how to deal with HOAs. The lawyer explained clearly what the HOA could and could not do. He said that demanding keys without consent was not legal. He also told them how to protect their privacy and how to respond to unfair rules. The meeting was full of questions and answers. Neighbors felt more confident and ready to stand up if needed. Sarah felt proud to have helped bring them together. The community was no longer divided. It was becoming stronger, but the HOA was still trying to find ways to get what they wanted. One evening, Sarah noticed a strange car parked near her house. The driver seemed to be watching her home. Sarah felt uneasy but did not want to jump. Two conclusions. She called the police to report the suspicious activity. The officers came quickly and checked the area. They found nothing wrong but promised to keep an eye out. Sarah knew she had to be careful. She made sure her security cameras were working well and told her neighbors to stay alert. The whole neighborhood was now more aware of privacy and safety. The HOA president, Mrs. Thompson, sent more letters demanding keys and warning about fines. But Sarah and her neighbors ignored the threats. They had learned that standing together was their best defense. One day, Sarah received an invitation from the HOA board to attend a meeting. They wanted to discuss community rules and concerns. Sarah knew this could be a chance to speak up and represent the neighbors who wanted privacy and fairness. At the meeting, Sarah spoke clearly and respectfully. She shared her story and explained why giving keys to the HOA was a bad idea. She told the board about the legal advice she received and the support from the community. Some HOA members listened quietly, but Mrs. Thompson looked unhappy. Sarah stayed calm and focused on the facts. Other neighbors who attended also spoke up, asking for changes to the HOA rules. The meeting ended without a clear solution, but Sarah felt hopeful. She saw that many people supported her and wanted the HOA to respect homeowners' rights. After the meeting, Sarah received messages of thanks from neighbors. They told her she was a leader and an example. Sarah felt proud, but also aware that the fight was not over. Sarah continued to live happily in her dream house, protecting her home and helping her neighbors. She believed that respect, knowledge, and courage were the keys to keeping a safe and friendly community. After the HOA meeting, Sarah's story was becoming well known in the neighborhood. Many people were talking about the problem and how important it was to protect their homes and privacy. Sarah noticed a change in the way neighbors acted. More people started to speak up about unfair rules or pressures they had felt before, but never talked about. Sarah often met with small groups of neighbors to share ideas. They wanted to find ways to make their community better and safer without losing their rights. Some neighbors suggested creating a neighborhood association separate from the HOA, one that would listen to everyone and protect homeowners fairly. One day, Sarah received a call from a community center organizer. The organizer wanted Sarah to speak at a local event about her experience with the HOA. Sarah was nervous but agreed. She thought it was a good chance to help others who might face similar problems. On the day of the event, Sarah stood in front of a group of people. She told her story clearly and simply. She spoke about buying her dream house, the strange demands from the HOA, and how she learned to stand up for herself. Sarah also explained how neighbors came together to support each other. After her talk, many people came to thank Sarah. Some said they had never thought about their rights as homeowners before. Others shared their own experiences and hopes for change. Sarah felt happy and proud that her story was helping others. But not all was easy. Mrs. Thompson, the HOA president, was still unhappy with Sarah's growing influence. The HOA sent a notice warning Sarah that she was breaking rules by organizing neighbors and speaking to the media. The letter also said she could be fined for disturbing community peace. Sarah read the letter carefully. She felt the pressure, but did not want to back down. She talked again to her lawyer, who told her these threats were common when someone stands up to unfair power. The lawyer reminded Sarah to keep records of all communications and to stay respectful in her actions. Sarah also made sure to keep her neighbors informed. She shared the letter and the lawyer's advice. Together, they decided not to respond with anger, but to keep working peacefully for their rights. Meanwhile, Sarah's friendship with many neighbors grew stronger. They helped each other with small things, watering plants during vacations, fixing fences, or simply sharing meals. The neighborhood was becoming more like a family, united by respect and care. One evening, Sarah noticed something surprising. Mrs. Thompson's son came to Sarah's door. Instead of demanding keys or causing trouble, he apologized. He said he had spoken with his mother and realized their actions were causing problems in the neighborhood. He promised they would stop demanding keys and would try to work more respectfully with homeowners. Sarah was cautious but appreciated the apology. She told him that respect and clear communication were the keys to a healthy community. She hoped this was a sign of real change. As weeks passed, the HOA's behavior softened. They stopped sending threatening letters. The neighborhood saw fewer arguments about rules and more friendly talks about how to improve the area. Sarah felt proud that her courage helped bring peace. One day, the HOA invited Sarah and some neighbors to join a new committee to rewrite community rules. The goal was to make rules fair and respectful for everyone. Sarah accepted and promised to listen to all voices and protect homeowners' rights. The committee worked hard, held meetings, listened to neighbors, and wrote clear rules. New rules said that homeowners must keep their keys safe and private. The HOA could not demand keys or enter homes without permission. They also added ideas to improve safety, like better street lighting and neighborhood watch groups. When the new rules were ready, the neighborhood voted. Almost everyone agreed and felt happy with the changes. Sarah felt proud to be part of the process. She knew that standing up for what was right could lead to real improvements. Life in the neighborhood returned to calm and friendly. Sarah enjoyed her dream house and her caring community. She kept learning and helping others understand their rights. Sarah's story teaches us that sometimes standing up for yourself and working with others can change even difficult situations. It shows the power of respect, patience, and courage in protecting what matters most, our homes and our peace. After the new community rules were approved, life in Sarah's neighborhood changed for the better. The tension that had once filled the air slowly disappeared. The HOA began to act more fairly, respecting the rights and privacy of every homeowner. Sarah felt a deep sense of relief and happiness knowing her efforts had helped create a better place for everyone. Sarah's dream house was no longer just a beautiful home. It had become a symbol of hope and courage in the community. Neighbors started to come together more often, organizing events like block parties, cleanup days, and gardening clubs. These gatherings helped people know each other better and build trust. Sarah often thought about how her journey had started. With a simple request for keys that made her feel uncomfortable, what had seemed like a small problem grew into a challenge that tested her patience, courage, and determination. But she never gave up. Her story inspired many people in the neighborhood and beyond. Some neighbors told their friends about Sarah's experience, reminding them to always protect their privacy and to stand up when something feels wrong. Sarah received letters and messages from people who thanked her for sharing her story. Sarah also learned important lessons about the power of community. She saw that when people come together, listen to each other, and work with respect, they can solve problems and make things better. Even when facing pressure or unfairness, standing strong with kindness and calm can lead to real change. Sometimes, Sarah still thought about Mrs. Thompson, the former HOA president. She hoped that Mrs. Thompson had also learned from the experience that respect for others' rights was the best way to lead. Sarah believed everyone could grow and improve if they tried. One sunny afternoon, Sarah stood in her garden, looking at the flowers she had planted with care. The neighbors' laughter and friendly voices filled the street. Children played happily, and adults chatted calmly. Sarah smiled, feeling grateful. Her dream house was truly a home now, a place where she felt safe, respected, and connected to a caring community. Sarah knew that no matter what challenges might come in the future, she had the strength and support to face them. Sarah's story is a reminder to all of us that protecting our homes and our rights is important. It shows that standing up with respect, seeking help when needed, and working together with neighbors can create a better world for everyone. In the end, Sarah's courage not only saved her dream house, but also helped build a stronger, kinder neighborhood. And that is a dream worth sharing.